superhero teams. Most people think of the Avengers or the X-Men when they hear that, but for a long time the epitome of a hero team was none other than the Justice League. Sitting at the heart of the DC universe, it's essential they are incorporated when representing their world. And so today, for our hypothetical DC Rivals series, we will be creating 3 more members. If you haven't already seen the video, check out our DC Rivals playlist to see where we made Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman. When making these kits, we try to stay away from stats or numbers and stick to concepts and themes. But that being said, this is all in the name of fun, so please let me know how you would handle them below. For those of you who don't know as well, we're currently preparing for the 2K subscriber special, which will include all of your ideas for characters in Marvel Rivals or DC Rivals, so make sure to leave those ideas in the comments for us to talk about. Now let's dive straight in with the Scarlet Speedster, the fastest man alive, Wally West, aka The Flash.
That's what I call tuning somebody up.
Wally West was the third Flash. After Jay and Barry, he took the title and quite literally ran with it. Using the Speed Force to move faster than light, he is realistically the 4th pillar of the DC universe. Mechanically, it would make no difference, but I think it's important that this Flash is in fact Wally. Not only is he the definitive Flash in DC Comics, and was the mainstream animated Flash for almost a decade, but also most of the traits attributed to modern day Barry Allen stem from Wally. I just think he's almost always the right candidate for creating a Flash in any medium. Now, Flash will be filling one of our duelist spots, and he's going to be focused on constantly moving, acting as an almost untouchable target who runs in and out of engagements constantly, either applying pressure everywhere or making quick decisions and game-changing picks. So to start, we need to talk about the center of his kit, the Speed Force. This is a meter Wally can tap into in order to move faster and change some of his abilities, basically improving his entire kit at the cost of burning himself out. This meter naturally fills when it isn't being drained, but running it dry does mean it sits empty for a second before it will start refilling again. So you have to time it right to get the most out of the power source. The ability that taps into this directly is full speed. This makes Wally move incredibly quick, acting as a running stance, much like Captain America in Marvel Rivals. Whilst running, all of his abilities change as well, and he runs up vertical surfaces. The primary method of damaging enemies with the Flash is Speed Strike. This is a quick but relatively weak melee attack he can spam at nearby enemies, but where it becomes devastating is when he combines it with full speed. While running, Speed Strike is replaced with Infinite Mass Punch, an iconic move from the comic books. This is a single strike with a long range that deals really high damage and gets Wally up close to follow up with some normal speed strikes. Of course, when he's in a close area or a corner, it's useful to have some after images to help out. After image has Wally dash forwards, leaving a clone of himself behind for a short while. The clone automatically faces the nearest enemy and will mimic Wally's attacks, so place it well and you'll have double the punch. This ability, however, is replaced by Lightning Throw when he's running, in which Wally performs the exact same dash maneuver, but instead of leaving an after image, he becomes charged with electrical energy. When he then exits full speed, he will immediately toss a powerful ranged lightning bolt forwards. A useful maneuver if you can't get out of reach of an enemy, or if doing so would put you in a disadvantageous spot. After image and lightning toss would obviously share a cooldown. Next up, Wally has Phase, which makes him stand still and vibrate, letting incoming attacks pass through him. Whilst using Phase, he can activate full speed still, letting him move and even walk through walls if he's quick about it, turning this standstill invincibility state into a moving untouchable mode. With this kit, Wally can be everywhere at once, dodging through impassable lanes and appearing out of nowhere, and eventually preparing himself to enter Flash Time. Flash Time has Wally use the Speed Force to its fullest, creating a bubble of energy around himself. All enemies inside this bubble are dramatically slowed, and all allies inside it receive a major speed boost, all while Wally will will also have unlimited Speed Force meter. Of course, after a short time, the bubble fades and everything returns to normal. I'm actually really happy with how this kit turned out, and I feel like I captured what most people would want to feel when playing as a speedster. I didn't just want a bunch of dashes or teleports, I wanted the feeling like you're really running around and being the Flash. That being said, our next hero can be interpreted in more ways than most, given his whole theme is built around creativity and making things. That's right, this is the Emerald Knight himself, John Stewart, aka Green Lantern.
In brightest day, in blackest night, no evil shall escape my sight. Let those who worship evil's might beware my power. Green Lantern's light.
Green Lantern uses his willpower in order to create constructs, fly, and shoot lasers among other things. The title is held by a multitude of people at any given time, all representing a space police corps, defending planets in designated sectors. Now, I chose John Stewart because he's my favorite and this is my series. I always liked the military angle for the Lanterns, and having him be the Earth Lantern that actually understands the corps and how it functions is just really fun to me. That being said, I want him to be the Vanguard. This Guardian on the battlefield who constantly marches forwards into danger whilst defending his team from the biggest hits. He is naturally going to fit into the bubble tank archetype, but I also want to give him a method of pushing hard and strong. First of all, we have willpower, the thing that drives his abilities and his ring. This is a primary in the form of an energy blast that he fires forwards. They have a slow fire rate but decent damage and no reload, so he can consistently fire this out. Of course, his kit is going to be cooldown centric, and that is where Owen, Bubble, and Green Guardian come in. Owen Bubble has Lantern summon a bubble around an ally, absorbing incoming damage for a short period of time. Like Magneto bubbles, these wouldn't have a health bar, but a set amount of time they last for. They will also share a cooldown with Green Guardian. Green Guardian has GL place an armor construct around himself, acting as his own Owen Bubble. However, unlike Owen Bubble, Green Guardian can be ended prematurely if enough damage is dealt to it. Finally, we have GL's key form of pressure, artillery. John creates a minigun construct that slows his movement speed, but drastically increases his fire rate and damage potential. With this, he is able to take space and control areas alongside his team. This could be incredibly threatening and punishing to an enemy team, as though it was a moving turret basically. That's also why Green Guardian has limited health before it pops, so that he can't just pop it and be guaranteed to walk forward with this unstoppable amount of damage. John does also have a passive of sorts. When John falls, holding the jump button slows his descent dramatically, but it doesn't change his full arc, so that he can cover more ground and push further, basically working the exact same as any of the characters with Slowfall already in Marvel Rivals. Eventually, as he saves allies and unloads Lantern bullets on his enemies, his power battery will charge up and he will become fearless. This ult has John declare the Lantern Oath to the battlefield as he rises into the sky. With each line of his oath, a rocket construct will appear beside him. Now, during his ult, he can also use Owen Bubble without putting it on cooldown. However, each time he does this, he creates one less rocket, instead making the bubble. When he finishes his oath, or when he is KO'd or stunned, the rockets created already fire forwards, slightly heat sinking towards enemies. It wouldn't be full auto target, but they'd veer in the direction of opponents and explode for high damage on impact along with splash damage since they are an explosion, basically letting him make everyone aware who he is before unleashing a mighty blast of damage. Of course, some Vanguards might use this as a hyper defensive ability, basically getting the max amount of bubbles they possibly can in a moment, but others will use the rockets to just be oppressive as possible. Honestly, I think most good players will probably fall somewhere in the middle, dropping a few bubbles when needed, but trying their best to build as many rockets as they can. And with that, I feel like we have a defensive Vanguard that is capable of bringing the heat when needed. And finally, we're going to talk about the King of the Seas, the Master of the Tides, Arthur Curry, aka Aqua Man. Aquaman is the king of Atlantis and protector of the seas. He uses his mighty trident to fight off Lovecraftian sea beasts and high-tech terrorists. In more recent comics, he has also garnered the power of hydrokinesis from his wife Mira, although this seems like it's going to be temporary. For the king of Atlantis, I wanted to do some kind of justice. The hate he received for many years, then followed by the Snyderverse's rather disrespect to his character, just isn't deserved. So I'm going to try my best to build a cool and intimidating kit for him, whilst also not making Namor, who plays strangely nothing like I'd expect Namor to play. So to start off, we have Trident of Poseidon, a trident projectile he can throw. Now hear me out, this isn't going to be just like Namor. Just wait for the rest of the kit, I swear. But when it comes to his primary, if you hold the fire button, he charges up the trident, and then when it lands, it will actually stick to what it hits. Attempting to fire again returns the trident, which comes in handy when you combine all of this with Cool Lightning. Cool Lightning has Aquaman raise his hand and summon a lightning strike onto his trident. Doing this while it's in his hands will make lightning hit Aquaman and damage nearby enemies, but using it when the trident is attached to a foe guarantees the lightning has a direct hit on them. You could also use it to hit wherever the trident is currently stuck if it's in a wall. Cool Lightning will also electrify water that it strikes. Water Aquaman can summon with Drown. Drown is Aquaman's alternate fire and has him spray a line of water forwards, kind of in like a burst motion. It will also knock enemies hit to the very end of that water trail, but it can't push them off ledges or off the map. So if the water trail continues past the edge of a building and onto the floor, they'll just go to the edge of the building. This effectively means Aquaman can create a trail that he can then electrify and damage enemies who cross it. This combination of moves is going to be the core mechanics of what build Aquaman. He fills the area with water, then he places his trident in tactical positions and summons lightning onto it. Finally, Aquaman has Tide Shield, a quick block ability that summons a wall of water in front of him to absorb an incoming attack. It's more of a timed thing, you have to parry with it, but it will absorb any amount of damage it hits. Aquaman also has the passive Atlantean Speed, which means he is able to move with a speed buff when he's walking on water, whilst enemies will suffer from slowness when they do, making it harder for them to get out of the danger zone, but he can actually use the area to get around even better. As you use your water and lightning to seize control of the map, closing off lanes and pinning annoying dives from afar, you will gain the power to seize the land with Tidal Strike. This has Aquaman summon a large tidal wave behind him, which rides forwards, dealing high damage to anyone hit and covering the floor in water. Alone, it's a useful, powerful attack, but followed up by a mighty Cool Lightning could finish off an entire team. So there you have it, a Flash designed to never stop running, a Green Lantern who dominates the battlefield, and an Aquaman who lives up to their title of king, owning as much area as possible. Let me know what you would do differently, or who else you want in the comments, and subscribe to be notified when we next take a look at the Bat Family.